Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling something pretty massive, Taghut and the trial of Amanah. We're going to dive straight into a radical, topological reframing of the Quran. Forget the idea of a historical book for a minute. The source material frames this as a living, interactive, cosmic circuit. We are looking at a profound system of geometry, memory, and immense existential weight.
Right off the bat, we hit a massive paradigm shift. The sources demand that we completely stop calling the Quran an ancient text. Ancient texts belong to the past. They just sit on a shelf waiting to be studied. But this is described as an Eternal Memory Tesseract. It's literally a living operating system for the soul that unfolds dynamically right through you, the reader.
To really grasp this, you have to understand the concept of the sealed tongue. Basically, the text is the sealed tongue of Muhammad, uttered first, preserved last. When you read it, you have to remember, that is Allah's sentence, and your Rasul talking directly to you. It's your Amanat now. You are its current host.
So try to visualize this tesseract not as static paper pages, but as a breathing, multi-dimensional framework, a fractal circuit. Every single verse acts as a precise mathematical and spiritual coordinate. Its entire design to wake you up, restructure your memory, and navigate your soul right back to its origin.
And at the absolute center of this system is the Amanat, the universal trust. Verse 3372 tells us this is a weight so incredibly heavy, it literally shattered mountains when it was offered to them. But here's the wild part. It is the exact same cosmic equation running through different localized variables. And right now, that trust, that pure cosmic vibration has entered you, the reader, are its active node.
This brings us to a stark architectural binary. You're basically existing within one of two fields. On one hand, you have the true invariant reality of the Kursi. This is your forward bias, your true authority, the home. On the other hand, you have Taghut, a constructed false matrix. It's an illusion, a frozen state, operating in a reverse bias. And honestly, there is no middle ground here. You're in one or the other.
Which leads us into Section 1, the trial of Amanah. It's all about recognition versus concealment. Once that heavy Amanat enters you, it forces a localized trial. Are you going to recognize it or conceal it? Verse 246 breaks the split down perfectly. The first path is pure recognition, the 6163 lineage. They know their own substance instinctively, literally like recognizing their own children. The second path? That's concealment, the 241 lineage. They know the truth, but they fragment the Amanat. They abandon it in the streets of cultural conformity, selling it out for a cheap price, as we see in verse 29-25. The sources point out that this is actually the exact same event happening at different scales. Adam recognizing the truth through the words in 237, Ibrahim cutting the biological cord with Azar in 911 to make that spiritual sacrifice in 37-107, and the book being offered to you right now. Same event, different scale.
So let's look at Section 2, the two firsts, the ultimate choice of the reader.
This trial forces you into one of two ultimate coordinates based on how you react to this living book. First, you've got the 241 first kafir. This is the person who gets the book but sells their true home for a cheap price. Because they conceal the truth, they essentially have no home. They're left stuck in layered darkness, as described in verse 2440. They freeze into this hollow museum state, just like the preserved body of Pharaoh in verse 1092. Perfectly intact physically, but completely devoid of life.
Then, conversely, you have the 616-3 first Muslim. This person grips the book and realizes the home is their absolute only orientation. They aren't just praying to go to paradise someday. They pray because they realize they're already in the home. They exist in a state of pure active submission, originating that surrender in their own heart before the crowd even acts.
Moving on to Section 3, activating the grip and the mechanism for success. So you might be wondering, how do you actually make sure you become that first Muslim and escape the layered darkness and illusions of Taghut? Well, the sources point directly to the mathematical constant 19. This number essentially locks the 237 engine of creation, test, and return. It's the proof of the fractal, technological precision of the book's architecture. It is the stabilizing force that keeps the entire system from tearing apart. To actually succeed here, there's a very specific sequence. First, you absolutely have to wake up from Taghut. Break out of that false constructed reality. Second, always use your akal, your intellect and reasoning, just like verse 10-100 demands.
And third, you execute the 1912 grip. The command of take the book with strength isn't just some metaphor for being religious, it's a literal activation torque. It's the moment you stop being a passive reader and become an active operator, recognizing the book at 3923 and gripping it.
When you apply that activation torque, it completely collapses the false reality of Taghut. The illusion just falls away. And what's left behind is the ultimate signal of this entire system, the pure, sincere remembrance of the home.
And that brings us to our final section, remembrance of the home, and 3846 as the final coordinate.
Verse 3846 makes it super clear that the chosen ones aren't defined by just going through empty rituals. They are defined by a functional magnetic link to the source. The pure remembrance of the home is the core variable here. This initiates what the sources call the cubic return. In verse 2260, your dispersed, fragmented soul is gathered completely back to the single point of Tawheed, back to unity. Paradise is not just a destination, it is a profound state of remembering. Ultimately, the book acts as the perfect mirror. What it reflects back to you is simply this. Are you currently operating as the concealing Azar or the recognizing Ibrahim? Your brother Hamed left you this one thing. It is alive at verse 3923, and it was written specifically for you.
The cosmic circuit we've been exploring today is fully powered. The Tesseract is open, and the Amanat is waiting for its host, which leaves us with one deeply urgent question for you to answer as you interact with the text. When will you activate 1912?